All right, we are live, and I say we, but I mean me. You can see it's just me today, John Halkias, Jigging Jerks. My good buddy JT Trolley, unfortunately, stuck in traffic. The bad accident apparently on the highway. Helicopters landing in the middle of the highway. He last minute, he thought he'd be home by now. He'd be on the live stream, but unfortunately, it's just going to be me. If we're lucky, JT will get home in time, join us. But regardless, we are going to talk about Blackfish today. The season, I believe, opened up today in Connecticut, and it's opening tomorrow in the Long Island Sound region. My boat, unfortunately, is in the New York Bight. Peconic Bay is part of the New York Bight. It's a thing I've railed about in the past, the screwy New York Blackfish regulations. I can legally fish for Blackfish in the Long Island Sound, but if I bring Blackfish back to my dock, I will likely incur a ticket unless I can definitively prove that I didn't catch them in the New York Bight. Just a quirky regulation. I am fishing tomorrow. I'm fishing with Todd and Doc and Sweeney. So we're very excited about that. We're going to be fishing in the Long Island Sound. But yeah, no charters for me till the 15th. Yeah, and I see Shane joined. Thank you, Shane. Good evening to you too. But that's going to be the focus of today. I know Connecticut, I believe, open, like I said, today. I know Rhode Island's been open for a while. I believe October 1. Could be wrong about that. But to me, Blackfish is my favorite fish to target, more so than fluke, more so than stripers. Just amazing fun, amazing fight. And selfishly for me, I don't have to run into the ocean. It's pretty much, you set a course to your favorite rock pile, you anchor, in my case, right, Doc's case. We're using a trolling motor to spot lock. I know not popular with some of the other captains, but, that's technology. As technology advances, you either get with the times or, you're stuck using Loran paper charts. So yeah, that's going to be the plan tomorrow. We're going to target some areas in the Long Island Sound. We might do a little bit of deep water stuff because Doc and Todd are both huge proponents of that. Sweeney and I decidedly are not fans of that deeper style of tog fishing. And quite frankly, those of you that follow the videos know I am just not good at it. When you do the light tackle stuff for a very long time, your brain becomes sensitized to that style of fishing, and it's much different. You're waiting for a very specific type of bite before you set the hook. Plenty of videos out on the interwebs about that, but it does mess with your ability to set the hook, I think, when you're deep water fishing. Yeah. So I know we got a few people on. Has anybody, maybe somebody in Rhode Island or Connecticut today, I know it's very windy today. Has anybody been out fishing? Kirk, we had a great catch and release opening day last year, John. Glad you and the boys are going out tomorrow. Yeah. So I believe that video's out, Kirk and a few others, right? I think Ernesto booked that trip, if I'm not mistaken, Kirk. We did, and I'm forgetting to put show the comments here. We did fish last year. It was that situation where it was a charter. The guys wanted to catch fish. We went out. We caught a ton of fish. I think we had 30-something keepers, and we came back to my dock with exactly 0 fish. Again, the quirk in the regs, my boat's in the New York Bight. Even though we're legally fishing in the New York Sound, we're not breaking any rules by doing that. Possessing the fish in the New York Bight could cause an issue. And Kirk, I don't know if you remember this, but Rick pulled up next to us during that trip. It's all coming back to me. And they couldn't buy a bite. And as long as I'm doing this solo today, it really showed the fact that if you are on the fish and another boat comes and you've built that bite under you, and I know we've talked about this a lot in Blackfish videos, but it's critical, especially if you're fishing a small piece, get that bite built under you. Boats can come and dock next to you. Or anchor next to you. It's not going to help them if you've already established that bite under the boat. Yeah. Mick, I agree. We do need that wind to settle down a lot. Um, I I see a small window tomorrow and then a small window Sunday, and that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to fish both days. But yeah, and look, we got to keep things in perspective, right? We do have a bad wind right now, but it's nothing compared to what folks in Florida are going through, right? Folks in that Tampa area, the West Coast, even the East Coast with the hurricanes and the tornadoes. It's all relative. At least if we're going to take any silver lining out of this, at least we're not, we're not worried about our boats blowing away and our houses getting flooded and roofs being torn off. But yeah, I agree with you that wind really does need to settle down. There you go, Pete. We were worried about today possibly being a wheeler. No, we did pull it out yesterday. Dan, you're killing me. Stayed home and mowed the lawn. My buddy went out and got 25 with 10 keepers. And Dan is Connecticut. And actually, Dan, you guys are luckier than us here in New York. Because this prevailing fall wind, usually my experience is a north wind, and where a south wind helps us here, like in the Long Island Sound, where, we have the land giving us a little bit of lee against that wind. The north wind, we're completely exposed. So the folks in Connecticut, the south wind doesn't help them in the summer, but helps them in the fall with Blackfish. Hopefully that lawn looks nice and clean there. And there's Kirk. We had firmly established the bite that day. Neither of the boats within 20 feet of us caught much. Yeah, I want to say Rick and team had like 1 or 2 fish total next to us where we had over 30. So Peter wants to talk about the Mets here. You watch. So Peter, I can't watch playoff games. I get too nervous. I know that's lame. Also the reason I can't gamble, because my stomach's in knots. And what I inevitably wind up doing is waking up at 2 a.m. and, in a really sweaty state, check Mets.com. And if they won, then I watch every highlight. And then if I can get a replay of the game, I'll watch it. But otherwise, I'm a nervous Nelly about watching playoff baseball. We got a question from Shane. What about tying rigs with light sinkers 1 to 3 ounces? I've tried this a few trips. This and last year in the shallow New Jersey, sometimes outproduces jigs. Yeah, so Shane, it's all about your comfort letter. I've seen that personally on my boat where clients have struggled with jigs where we're fishing shallow, and they'll switch to exactly what you're describing and they'll start picking up keepers. I never want to say that my way is the only way or the style I like to fish is the only style. I'm cognizant of that when we're fluke fishing too, that although I like a bucktail teaser, it's been proven that sometimes other techniques work a lot better. Same thing with gulp. Sometimes bait works better. And certainly it's all about your comfort level. I am extremely comfortable with light jigs. It's what I feel most comfortable using, but I've seen firsthand where folks struggle with jigs, switch to light sinker setups and do well. I will say there's always other people on the boat using jigs during those times, and those people with jigs are doing well. I think the issue is that sometimes that learning curve associated with jigs, sometimes it's harder for people to pick it up. And there's no shame in that, right? Same way I can't pick up deep water tog fishing. I just can't. As many times as I do it, I will get outfished by everyone on the boat. Yes, I'll catch a fish or two, and I attribute that to luck. So it's whatever's in your comfort zone. If it works for you, absolutely do it. It's my buddy Greg Ziss. I went today. It was blowing good. We got a limit with a ton of shorts. Yeah, it was blowing good. Greg, I presume you had a little bit of lee from the wind, though, being as long as you stayed close to that Connecticut shore. To me, it looked like almost a straight north wind. I could be wrong about that. But hopefully you did well. Or you did do well, but hopefully the wind wasn't that bad. And Dan has another comment here. Thanks. Yeah, the summer is tough, but this is our time to shine. 2 weeks off starting Monday. Can't wait. That's awesome, Dan. And I personally, starting on the 15th, we have the member subscriber trip. And by the way, if you haven't checked the comments. Please check the comments to my Blackfish subscriber member trip video. I think everyone except Rody, Share Guy, Jerry, if you're listening to this, you're one of the winners. I pinged you. You've not responded. Make sure you get back to me. Yeah, so I went off on a little tangent there, Dan, but the point was, I don't remember but this is our time to shine. 2 weeks starting off Monday. That was the point. I don't know if you've looked at the forecast, Dan, but it's going to be howling for a bit. Again, unfortunately, I think that weather system down south is going to slowly creep up this way, or even if it doesn't, just the wind activity will make its way to us. And I saw a lot of threes and not single-digit threes in the forecast for the next few days, starting on Sunday night. Which is a bummer because, like I said, I'm fishing every day from the 15th to the 30th. So I really want to get as many of these trips in as I can. What else, guys? Quiet group today. When is it because JT's not here? When JT's on, we can't. An hour doesn't get us through all the questions. No questions. Wow. All right. Well, we're going to be back for the members on the channel on Sunday, and we'll give an update of how I know JT is planning on doing some tog fishing too. So we'll have that. We'll be able to regroup on Sunday for members and JT's Patreon folks as well, and go over how we did. I know I'm planning to fish, like I said, tomorrow and on Sunday. There is going to be a small window. And we'll see how we do. But again, to me, this is like Christmas. It's the most exciting time. It's so much fun, especially on light tackle. It's what I love to do. It's all my trips are based on light tackle fishing. So light tackle tog fishing. So hopefully we crush it. So there is another question. Thank you, Shane. What is your favorite jig weight? You like 1 1/4. So I have up to, I think, 1.5 on my boat. I typically don't go over 1, and in a perfect world, I'll drop with a 1/2 ounce. I want that jig as light as possible so that when you drop that jig and all those little blackfish are attacking it, and sea bass and porgies right now because the water's still relatively warm, you ignore those bites. And the beauty of the lightest possible jig is a bigger blackfish can swoop in, muscle those smaller fish out of the way, pick up that 1/2 ounce jig, 3/4 ounce jig, and swim away with it without really feeling the resistance that a heavier sinker or even a heavier jig will present. And to me, that makes all the difference with jig fishing between catching bigger fish and just catching a lot of shorts. So 1 1/4 definitely works, especially on a day if the current's ripping. It's something I would use, but I prefer lighter than that. Good question. Thank you. And yeah, not like I said, not a lot of questions today. We do have Monday Night Football on. This is where I'd make a Phillies joke, but I want to be sensitive. They did have a great year to folks who watch the channel and are Phillies fans. I know there's a lot of you guys. Do I have a specific color? Hey, Mike. John, do you have a specific color jig use, or don't think it matters? I don't think it matters. I don't care about jig color. Again, me personally, I have orange jigs, green jigs, those pale jigs. I personally don't see any difference in that. John, do you use Greg? John, do you use an FG knot or a swivel? I use neither. I tie braid to my fluoro direct, but I'm not spending the amount of time needed to tie an FG knot. We're not casting for them, so I don't care that it's not smooth. I'm not using the longest leader, so to me, I just not going to waste my time tying an FG. I know, not a popular opinion. Everybody loves the FG. I'm not denying it's a great knot, but I don't have the patience to tie it. I tie a very simple knot. I do a improved cinch knot on the braid. I make a loop. I do 8 wraps and then wrap it through itself. Then the fluoro, I do 5 wraps through that loop, cinch on both sides. It's not the prettiest knot, but I promise you it doesn't break. And I tie it in 30 seconds. So that's what I use, Greg. Again, not a popular opinion. I know everybody loves their fancy knot presentations, but that's not who I am. Oh boy. And here we go with the salacious comments. Todd likes rainbow. Not surprised, Todd. Not surprised. Just Shane. Don't you and Skinner use the SS jigs, or is it another jig brand? No. So Shane, 100% right. I do use the SNS jigs. So many of you might know this. SNS kind of dissolved last year. Stan, who's a great guy from SNS, has now partnered with another company that they've named SNS Jigs. I'm lucky, though, that I have a huge supply of his Blackfish jigs from last year. So I'm still using those. I do really like those jigs a lot. I like the fact that they have a longer shank on them. I have them right here if you guys want to hold on a second. I have my Tog rigs in different sizes ready to go tomorrow when we fish. So if you can see this is orange, but it really does have like a longer hook than some of the other jigs out there. This is 3/4 what I'm opening. I'm going to open another brand here. So this is Anytime Tackle. The proprietor of that business sent me a few to try. You can see the shank is a little smaller. Me personally, and I know a lot of people catch a lot of fish with these shorter shank jigs. I personally prefer the slightly longer hooks on them. And Stan was very good about that. So I don't know what Skinner's doing for jigs this year. I presume it's going to be dark matter. I've not talked to him about it. But I don't think the SNS jigs will be sponsored by Skinner anymore going forward. At least that's my understanding. And it's nothing personal with Stan. It's just Skinner has a long-standing relationship with dark matter and J&H, and I think that's the direction he's decided to go. Yeah, we're going to ignore Todd's comments. Dan the Fisherman, I agree with you. Light jigs, 3/4 ounce is my favorite. Tried Todd Man Through rig last year for some deeper spots and did well too. He's got a video on how to tie them. Looking forward to trying them again. Are you sure that was Todd Mann? I didn't know Todd Mann knew anything about tog fishing. That's interesting, Dan. I'm kidding, by the way, Todd. Todd is a great tog fisherman. Todd, we're actually fishing with Todd, God help us, in the Billy's by the Bay tournament this year. And I'm heavy sighing there because, like I said, every Billy's tournament I've ever done has been all light tackle. This will be the first one where we're going to do Todd style. And I don't know if there's anybody better in our area at finding big fish than Todd. There really is a science to it with electronics and anchoring and spotting fish on your sonar. And Todd is literally amazing at that. So we are fishing with him, and he's going to have to catch the big fish, him or Doc, because Sweeney's fishing with us too. And I think Sweeney and I are in the same boat there. No pun intended that, the deep, heavy stuff is not our forte. What else do we have? This is why JT needs to work from home on days where we have these live streams, because even though I can never shut up when it's just me hosting, I'm like, if you guys don't ask me questions, I have nothing to say here. Yes, Peter, Blackfish time. It is. All right, guys. Well, again, for the, Mike Thornton. Todd, this is for you, buddy. I should have had you last minute join the call. This all happened like in the last 10 minutes where I got in touch with JT, and he said he's like stuck in behind some bad accident with the rescue helicopters landing on the highway, and he wouldn't be able to make it. Yeah, Todd, not many videos this year, so I'll answer that for Todd. Todd, deepest condolences to Todd. He lost his father-in-law. He and his wife are doing a great job taking over the business his father-in-law had, in addition to Todd's business. And by the way, anybody who needs like the absolute most honest, best, anal, like fastidious contractor, Todd's the man. Todd's work is insanely good. But I know Todd has not fished as much as he would have liked this year because of all those reasons. He's working really hard at some other stuff. Yeah, and Todd did say interested in seeing what Skinner does for a new jig. And I can't believe I haven't asked him that. Blackfish time with the wife. She's listening. I don't know what you want me to say there, Peter. I have no idea. Yeah, it is Blackfish time. You should definitely take her. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And here's Chris. Chris, long time no talk. I've been doing well on Blackfish since late August in Rhode Island. New trolling motor makes it easy in the shallow water. Absolutely, Peter. It's also, I don't know if you, and apologies if you've mentioned this in a comment or texted me about it, but it's also a game changer with Fluke. I know you do a lot of tuna stuff too, but it correcting the drift in Fluke, making sure that you're drifting to a point where you can stay vertical, it's a game changer for that as well. But it's are you doing, out of curiosity, Chris, are you doing the Rhode Island Classic this weekend? We'll see what he's saying. Todd wants to know what's going on with your new rod. Yeah, we have some new designs coming. I'm waiting for the first one to come that I can start showing. It should be soon. Glenn Starr is just waiting on the bass to migrate to South Jersey. We're waiting for the bass to show up here in Long Island, at least on the north side of Long Island. Very kind of unusual this year compared to the last couple of years, where it's been a great bluefish bite, like huge bluefish, but not a lot of bass. We did 2 charters with Skinner. He posted a video of the one where we didn't have a single bass, not even a short, but we had a lot of monster bluefish, and he had a seal, a big gray seal. GoPro, again, doesn't do it justice. These things are hundreds of pounds. Take his bluefish. We had another charter last Friday, same deal. Skinner went to the same spots, couldn't catch a bass, and we lost 2 bluefish to giant gray seals. I've never seen this many of these big aggressive seals out by us like this year. Very unusual. I know they've always been there, at least smaller ones I've seen, but these monster seals are something else. They will snatch those. No exaggeration. We weighed one of Skinner's bluefish last Friday, was 17 pounds. They will snatch them right from your hook. It's really something to see. Yeah, and Chris replied, the tuna fishing has been so good. I didn't know I didn't need to go fluking too much. Chris, I talk about this in some of the videos. I don't eat fish typically, but I will always eat fresh tuna. I don't blame you. That's the one fish I would actually fish for, just for the food. Robert California, former CEO of Sabre. How far up island does Todd travel for a job? And Todd's responding. So this has now become a Todd Mann construction infomercial. 90% of my work is local, but I travel as far as Wading River, somewhere in that range. There you go. And Chris, no on the tournament, but I'll fish them for them this weekend. Point Judith has some nice fish, but my experience is the larger fish are by the bay. Very good. I am not. Just Shane. Good question. Are you going to try that spot? Skinner went to the bombed island. He had a license. Yeah, he absolutely did. I don't think I'm going to try that spot, Shane. That spot is the ruins. For those of you that know this area of Long Island, that's just outside Gardner's Island. And not for any reason other than we like for us Blackfish, we have a gajillion spots. That's probably a spot worth trying for, poop and giggles, and maybe I will try it. But I was not planning on trying it. Okay. Water temp. Mike Thornton. John, what's your thoughts on water temp versus depth for Blackfish? I do think there's a correlation. I do think early in the season it's better to fish a little shallower. The water tends to get a little cooler, shallow, and besides triggering the Blackfish to bite, maybe it also starts weeding out some of the less desirable fish like sea bass and porgies. As the water gets really cold, then moving to deeper waters is probably a really good idea, because that deeper water will get really cold a little slower than the shallow water. It's very similar to the spring, where that shallow water warms up quicker than the deeper water. All right. We might be done with questions. Bob California did not react to my office joke, by the way. That saddens me. Are you doing the new rods with VRC again? Yes, Kirk. They're going to be the same rods. We are changing for quality control reasons. The blanks, they're still going to be made in the US, but we do have a new blank person. We tested them. They're fantastic, better quality than the old ones. And we're going to get a little fancier with the design, a little more pop to them. But ostensibly, they're going to be the same exact rods, just a little higher components, a little better quality blank. Not that the other ones were terrible, but these are going to be even better. Peter, I always have a question for you. What's the question? John, yes, I got it. I'm glad you got it. Did you pick winners for the Blackfish trip? Hey, Bob, yes. So everyone who won got a response to their comment. Everyone has replied except for one person, Rhode Island car share guy, Jerry. I'm probably Rhodey car share guy, Jerry. I'm probably butchering the name, but he's the only one that I'm waiting to hear back from. But yeah, we did pick the names. Unfortunately, there are close to 300 people between the members and the subscribers who entered, and we have limited spots. So it's not it's a small chance, put it that way, for anybody to win. But yes, they were picked. Peter, is it easier to go shallow for Blackfish? Yes, I think so. It's easier to anchor. It's easier to hold. Peter, the critical thing is structure with Blackfish. You find structure, you're going to find Blackfish. And, I don't want to steal any of my colleagues' thunder, JT's thunder. Those of you that follow JT know this. And if you don't follow him, you should. But JT, and it's going to be hard to see here. It's not going to work because of the crappy camera on my computer. But I would suggest that everybody download Navionics on their iPad or their phone and pay for the relief shading. I think it's up to $50 now, but it's so worth it. You can literally zoom in on all the areas you fish, and you will find boulder beds. You will find reefs. I promise you, every single one of those really bouldery areas will hold Blackfish. And especially now when the water is still a little warm, you can definitely fish those shallow spots. I fish as shallow as like 7, 8, 9 feet in some spots. And we catch Blackfish and we catch keepers. Crabbing and fishing. How can you define shallow? I'll give you a weird answer. I have two definitions for shallow: the literal and the current. And current as in tidal flow, not present time. So literal, shallow, under 20 feet. There's a lot of areas close to shore that have boulders, that have rock piles, that have structure. Even we have a spot in Peconic Bay that has a big wreck on it, and we've caught up to 9.5 pound Blackfish there. So anything physically shallow is one definition. The other definition is there are certain deeper drops you can fish where you're sheltered by an eddy, or there, so current moving in doesn't really affect that area. And there's a very popular body of water by us. I don't want to say too much for the sake of my charter business, but I have a spot where I'm fishing 40 feet, 38, 42, 44 feet. And this area is really defined by fast moving water, except we found a little area that's protected. And for whatever reason, on both tides, you do not get a lot of current flow through there. And we catch a lot of blackfish there. So while not technically shallow under that 20-foot definition, it's shallow if you want to jig fish, because the current there does not really impede your ability to drop down at any tide with 1 ounce or less. Yeah, and Mike says, I was fishing last year in 3 feet, catching keepers off New Jersey. Yep, I believe it. It's all great questions, guys. All right. Well, we're going to, I guess, do a half hour today. But I did do the talking for 2 people, so that's almost like an hour for me. So we'll be back Sunday for members and Patreon members for JT. Give you guys an update on what happened over the weekend. Thank you guys all for joining today, for the great questions. Tight lines to everybody fishing for tog this weekend. And we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll continue this great discussion. Thanks, guys.